Welcome back to Behind the Headlines. Every year, the Humane Society of Southwest Missouri publishes an annual list of the 100 worst dog breeders, and for the past 12 years, Missouri is topping the list. Legislation aimed at Missouri's puppy mills and its problems have been reintroduced, and Annalise Henshaw with the Missouri Independent News Service is tracking all this and joins us now. Welcome back, Annalise. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
All righty. So who is pushing this bill this time, and what would it do this time?
Yeah, this is from State Representative Doug Clemens, who's a Democrat from St. Anne, which is like St. Louis County area. And the bill it has a lot of various provisions that essentially try to require large dog breeders to photograph dogs regularly, photograph their living quarters, and get them fully vetted, DNA testing and x-rays to make sure they aren't carrying any conditions before they are bred or before puppies are sent to pet stores.
So what is the biggest hurdle in getting this passed this time?
To be a large priority on animal welfare legislation, particularly because anything involving dogs and cats, people are worried that down the line it could affect the agriculture industry in Missouri, which is obviously a big industry, and a lot of folks are behind that.
So, which brings up the Missouri Supreme Court, as you know, ruled in favor of large farming operations known as KFOs. So if this version protects or leaves livestock producers alone, so to speak, would that help it move through the legislature, or at least get through a committee?
It didn't even make it into a committee hearing last year. So I imagine it's still going to just be something filed. The bill sponsor said he's under no illusion that this would be a priority for anyone, but he cares about the legislation. So we filed it anyway. And so that way it's ready if there's another animal-related bill that he can tack it onto as an amendment when it comes to the House floor.
So take us back to 2010 when Missouri voters approved a puppy mill anti-cruelty measure, if we can call it that. And then in 2011, former Governor Mike Parson got it changed. What happened?
Yeah, so voters in a very narrow decision decided through a ballot measure that they were going to establish the Puppy Mill Cruelty and Prevention Act. And that had a bunch of various things on the standards of living for dogs with breeders that have at least 10 female breeding dogs. And it capped the number of breeding dogs one could have at 50, which 50 for parent dogs, not overall, but the parent dogs. Mike Parson, our former governor, who was at the time a senator in 2011, proposed a bill that was signed into law that removed the cap so you can have as many breeding dogs as you would like. And it changed up a few definitions, like it made the definition of regular exercise much more lenient to allow any kind of exercise plan allowed by a veterinarian. And there was some provisions that said, dogs need this amount of indoor space to play. They should have, no kennels stacked on top of one another, and daily cleaning of the kennels. And that was removed. So some of the things just became like up to a veterinarian instead of this prescribed thing. And then other measures were just completely wiped.
So this is kind of a hypothetical. Assuming this passed and got signed into law, the current legislation that's proposed, I assume it would be up to the Missouri Department of Agriculture to enforce it. So does the Missouri Agriculture Department have enough inspectors to inspect or shut down puppy mills that break the law? And it seems like, when this does make the news, when we get the pictures, it always comes from the U.S. Humane Society or the Humane Society of Missouri that's helping them do the work to remove these animals, to rehab them and get them into a better place. They seem to be the ones that will be doing the real work.
Yeah, I think it's a mix. The Missouri Department of Agriculture is the one that is tasked with doing the inspections, checking the paperwork, and if things are wrong, then it is sent to the Missouri Attorney General to fine, to shut them down for 8 years if they've had repeated violations. And Attorney General Andrew Bailey has published 2 news releases about shutting down large breeding operations since he took office. So there is some action being done through the state departments. But there are 730 dog breeders in Missouri that are registered with, yeah, they're registered with the USDA. And not everyone registers with the USDA. Not everyone registers at all. Of course, you should register, but there are some that are just out there breeding. So it's unsure how many we really have registered with the Missouri Department of Agriculture. It's probably larger than that 730 number, but that number isn't readily accessible online. So around 730.
Well, we will see where this goes or doesn't go. Annalise Hanshaw with the Missouri Independent, thanks for telling us about this. You can see Annalise's reports and those other reporters from Missouri Independent online and on social media, as well as this conversation at KY3.com, the KY3 News app, Fire Stick Plus, Roku, and Apple TV. Annalise, thanks as always. We'll look forward to next time. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.